You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. And then when you ran for Congress in 2006, your campaign repeatedly made false statements about a 1995 arrest because their groceries were less expensive. Housing was more affordable when Donald Trump was president.
Is Dana Bash based? Howdy, y'all. I'm Brylan. So once again, I am not around my normal filming setup. In fact, I'm standing here in a very small bedroom filming with the camera and the mic on my MacBook Pro. So yes, I am very aware that the sound quality is horrible. Thank you for reminding me. So Kamala had her very first interview in the month and a half that it's been since the coup. I mean, what was it that Newsom was laughing about again?
How are you feeling about the switch? The switch.
In this video, I'm going to show you the major parts of this interview, if you can call it that. This was pre-scripted, edited. It was not live. This was literally done in a way to try to make Kamala and Timmy AWOL look the best they absolutely can. Although I'm going to show you the major questions that were asked. I actually think there were a few good questions asked by Dana Bash. And I'm going to show you how Kamala responds to this. And then towards the end of the video, I'm going to show you two shocking questions that Dana Bash asked Timmy AWOL that will blow your mind. Real quick, would you consider hitting that thumbs up button, when you like this video, to get pushed out to more people? And it would really help spread the truth.
The voters are really eager to hear what your plans are. If you are elected, what would you do on day one in the White House?
Well, there are a number of things. I will tell you, first and foremost, one of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class. When I look at the aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people, I think that people are ready for a new way forward, in a way that generations of Americans have been fueled by hope and by optimism. I think, sadly, in the last decade, we have had in the former president someone who has really been pushing an agenda and an environment that is about diminishing the character and the strength of who we are as Americans, really dividing our nation. And I think people are ready to turn the page on that.
Kamala makes the argument that people are ready to turn the page on Trump's presidency, even though he hasn't been president for almost 4 years now. These are the type of games that Kamala and the left like to play. They like to live in unreality while you are stuck in reality. And Kamala says if she gets elected, remember, she is the vice president right now. Why can nobody understand this? All these things she's saying she's going to do day one if she's elected, she could have been doing the last 4 years. She has not done them. She will not do them. She's not going to strengthen the middle class. The left hates the middle class. The middle class gets in the way of the left's agenda, of Kamala's agenda, which is communism, complete and utter control. So the more you can break the middle class down, the more that they have to rely on who? The government. And they're talking about how she's going to bring a fresh new outlook to the presidency. Again, she's been the vice president for 4 years. There is nothing fresh about Kamala. Everything that's going on the last 4 years up until now, it will continue to go on, but even more radical than before, believe it or not.
You talked about, you call it the opportunity economy. You are well aware that right now many Americans are struggling. There's a crisis of affordability. One of your campaign themes is we're not going back. But I wonder what you say to voters who do want to go back when it comes to the economy specifically, because their groceries were less expensive, housing was more affordable when Donald Trump was president.
Oh, I just got to say, this question's such a backhanded burn. I mean, is Dana Bash based?
Well, let's start with the fact that when Joe Biden and I came in office, during the height of a pandemic, we saw over 10 million jobs were lost. Literally, we were all tracking the numbers. Hundreds of people a day were dying because of COVID. The economy had crashed. In large part, all of that because of mismanagement by Donald Trump of that crisis. When we came in, our highest priority was to do what we could to rescue America. And today, we know that we have inflation at under 3%. A lot of our policies have led to the reality that America recovered faster than any wealthy nation around the world. But you are right. Prices, in particular for groceries, are still too high. The American people know it, I know it. Which is why my agenda includes what we need to do to bring down the price of groceries. For example, dealing with an issue like price gouging. What we need to do to extend the child tax credit to help young families be able to take care of their children in their most formative years. What we need to do to bring down the cost of housing. My proposal includes what would be a tax credit of $25,000 for first-time home buyers, so they can just have enough to put a down payment on a home, which is part of the American dream.
First of all, let's break down some of these points here. Talking about giving everybody $25,000 towards a new home, which will just raise the prices of homes by $25,000. You know, the housing market is horrible right now anyway. Home prices have skyrocketed like everything else in our economy. And most people can't even afford to buy a home right now anyways. So you give them $25,000 towards a new home that then raises the price of that house by $25,000 at least, doesn't do anything. That's not even, think about it. You have to have 20% down most of the time in order to not have to pay the mortgage insurance costs, which can raise the monthly price several $100s, put it out of the reach of many people to be able to afford that monthly payment. $25,000 anyway. Say it worked out perfectly in a perfect world. $25,000 towards a home that costs the average home now is $500,000, and that's nowhere near 20%. And you would have to still make up another like 70 grand in order to have 20% down. It just doesn't make any sense. Also, she talks about how she wants to strengthen child care and help people take care of their children. Remember, the left are the ones that had the bus outside of the demonic national convention just the other week. You could go in and have the child in your womb deleted. And if you're a dude, you could walk in and have your stuff snipped because they want to get rid of, you guessed it, children. The left hates children, whether it's children in the womb or children that thankfully have made it out of the womb, which is so unfortunate to think about, that the womb, a mother's womb, supposed to be the safest place for a child, has become a battlefield.
Which is why my agenda includes what we need to do to bring down the price of groceries. For example, dealing with an issue like price gouging.
Also, she talks about price gouging. These are communistic control tactics that will absolutely destroy the economy even more than it's destroyed now. If you want to see what it looks like when it's really, really bad, then vote for Kamala and Timmy AWOL over here.
You maintain bidenomics is a success.
I maintain that when we do the work of bringing down prescription medication for the American people, including capping the cost of the annual cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000, when we do what we did in the first year of being in office to extend the child tax credit so that we cut child poverty in America by over 50%, when we do what we have done to invest in the American people and bringing manufacturing back to the United States so that we created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs, bringing business back to America. What we have done to improve the supply chain so we're not relying on foreign governments to supply American families with their basic needs, I'll say that that's good work.
Okay, so never forget this, that you just heard Kamala talk about how she understands, she knows, she sees it for herself, and the American people see that the economy is not good. Inflation is way too high. They can't afford basic needs. Americans cannot take care of themselves and their families the way that they could just a few years ago. Yet, here we are today. She is saying she sees that, she understands that, and she's going to fix it all day one. But yet you just heard it from her own mouth that bidenomics has done good work for the American people. Yet we're seeing what bidenomics has done for the American people. It is destroying the middle class, which she claims to stand up for, and she's going to save the middle class on day one, even though she's had 4 years to do that and hasn't done it. She's not going to do it now. And if you get price gouging, price controlling, sayonara.
When you were in Congress, you supported the Green New Deal. And in 2019, you said, quote, "There is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking." Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue, particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania.
Sure.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020, that I would not
Look how
ban
frustrated she
fracking.
looks.
As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
In 2019, I believe, at a town hall, you said you were asked, would
Such
you
a
commit to
liar.
implementing a federal ban on fracking on your first day in office? And you said, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yes. So it changed in that campaign?
In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024, and I've not changed that position, nor will I going forward. I kept my word, and I will keep my word.
What made you
Kept your
change
word
that
on
position
what?
at the time?
Well, let's be clear. My values have not changed. I believe it is very important that we take seriously what we must do to guard against what is a clear crisis in terms of the climate. And to do that, we can do what we have accomplished thus far. The Inflation Reduction Act, what we have done to invest, by my calculation, over probably $1 trillion over the next 10 years, investing in a clean energy economy. What we've already done, creating over 300,000 new clean energy jobs. That tells me, from my experience as vice president, we can do it without banning fracking. In fact, Dana, excuse me, I cast the tie-breaking vote that actually increased leases for fracking as vice president. So I'm very clear about where I stand. There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah, and starting with what we can do on day one around public lands, right? And then there has to be legislation. But yes, and this is something I've taken on in California. I have a history of working on this issue. And to your point,
She has a history of it.
and we have to just acknowledge that the residual impact of fracking is enormous in terms of the impact on the health and safety of communities.
Enormous. Also, she spent her entire career believing this, doing this, working toward this goal. Yet now that the coup's complete and she needs votes, everything changes just like that overnight. You know, with these people, the world's going to end next year if you don't give them more power. And what happens? Next year comes, the world doesn't end, but it will end the next year. You just have to give up a little more power, and so on and so on. And she's right. She did cast the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which did nothing to reduce inflation. In fact, it skyrocketed inflation even more. That bill had nothing to do with lowering inflation. They knew this. They knew it wasn't going to lower inflation. They just slapped a name on there that would make people feel a little better that they just passed a bill that was going to increase spending, increase taking more of your money to put towards the radical left's agenda, to put towards the Green New Deal, to put towards all the different social agendas. It had nothing to do with making life easier or reducing inflation. Absolutely zero. So don't fall for the lies here.
During the Biden-Harris administration, there were record numbers of illegal border crossings. Why did the Biden-Harris administration wait 3.5 years to implement sweeping asylum restrictions?
Well, first of all, the root causes work that I did as vice president, that I was asked to do by the president, has actually resulted in a number of benefits, including historic investments by American businesses in that region. Okay. The number of immigrants coming from that region has actually reduced since we began that work.
Never forget that this woman is the border czar. She was put in charge of the border by Sleepy Joe. And, well, what was the result of that? Close to, if not more than, 20 million illegals in this country that are absolutely taking over. In fact, you can go watch my video from the other day where I showed how in California and several other states are following that they're giving $150,000 to illegals to buy homes. While American citizens can't afford to buy a home right now, at least the illegals will have money, your money, taxpayer money, given to them to buy all those nice new homes that have been foreclosed upon because people can't afford to survive anymore in this economy. And never forget this. This is a story from yesterday when the day that the interview aired. It says U.S. to reopen migrant sponsor program with new vetting process aimed at curbing fraud. Right now, this administration that Kamala is currently a part of is reopening the borders to everybody. Just come on in. They're literally going to continue to fly people in on planes, bust them over the border, and just release them. Now listen to these sucker punch questions that Dana Bash asks Timmy AWOL here.
Governor Walz, the country is just starting to get to know you. I want to ask you a question about how you've described your service in the National Guard. You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom, whether it's Congress or the governor. My record speaks for itself, but I think people are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and
speaks like you,
I speak especially passionately about our children being shot in schools and around guns. So I think people know me. They know who I am. They know where my heart is. And again, my record has been out there for over 40 years to speak for itself.
And the idea that you said that you were in war, yeah. Did you misspeak as the campaign has said?
Yeah, I said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar is not always correct. But again, if it's not this, it's an attack on my children for showing love for me, or it's an attack on my dog. I'm not going to do that. And the one thing I'll never do is I'll never demean another member's service.
That was the first question that Dana asked. I'm going to show you the next shocking question she asked Timmy AWOL in just a second. But I want you to notice something. What do you notice the most about that clip? Ding, 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 ding. He didn't answer the question because he can't answer the question. He got caught lying, and then he was asked why he lied, and then he didn't answer the question. What we do know about you is that you have some of the most radical agendas that you've passed in Minnesota, making it one of the absolute most radical and insane states in the United States of America. And that's saying something because we have California, remember. What Timmy AWOL has done is continuously try to destroy the fabric of our Constitution. And listen to this follow-up question that Dana asked Timmy AWOL.
You had to clarify that you had said that you and your wife used IVF, but it turned out you used a different kind of fertility in order to have children. And then when you ran for Congress in 2006, your campaign repeatedly made false statements about a 1995 arrest for drunk and reckless driving.
Wow.
What do you say to voters who aren't sure whether they can take you at your word?
Well, I've been very public. I think they can see my students come out, former folks I've served with, and they vouch for me. I certainly own my mistakes when I make them. The one thing I'll tell you is I wished in this country wouldn't have to do this. I spoke about our infertility issues because it's hell, and families know this. And I spoke about the treatments that were available to us that had those beautiful children there. That's quite a contrast in folks that are trying to to take those rights away from us. And so I think people know who I am. They know that record. They've seen that. I've taught thousands of students. I've been out there. And I won't apologize for speaking passionately, whether it's guns in schools or protecting of reproductive rights. The contrast could not be clearer between what we're running against. The vice president's position on this has been clear. And I think most Americans get it if you've been through that. I don't think they're cutting hairs on IVF or IUI. I think what they're cutting hairs on is an abortion ban and the ability to be able to deny families the chance to have a beautiful child.
First of all, what did you notice about that answer there? You're right again. He didn't answer the question. But did you hear that shocking last line that he used there? He literally says, trying to get an abhorrent ban and deny families from having a beautiful child. How absolutely disgusting in the same breath to advocate for the destruction of a child in the womb and then say that you are the one trying to help families have a beautiful child. It's disgusting. These people are absolutely depraved. And it's hilarious how the only questions that Timmy A. Walz receiving is being confronted about all the lies he's told. And yet he doesn't have a justification for any of them. He just skirts his way around them and just makes up other things and continues to lie to cover his lies. It's disgusting. These are the kind of people that will utterly destroy our nation. See this video here? This is Mr. Timmy AWOL, who wants to give families the opportunity to have beautiful children. This is him signing a repeal to a ban on abhorrent after birth. With all these disgusting liberal white women standing around him clapping and smiling from ear to ear as he repeals the Born Alive Act. And now in Minnesota, there is no restrictions at all. Yet, remember, Timmy AWOL claims to be the one that stands for giving families the opportunity to have a beautiful child of their own. You know, this is why Kamala hasn't done an interview in a month and a half since, again, the coup was complete. Because they can't actually answer questions. They don't actually have any justification for their actions, for the fact that she's been vice president for 4 years and has done nothing to help you. In fact, all she's done is done things to destroy your lives, and that's what it will continue to be. You know, all this interview did was make Kamala and Timmy AWOL look horrible. This was a horrible decision. And remember, this was with editing. This was with being pre-recorded. And and not even releasing the entire interview. This wasn't even all the footage. They just put out what they were allowed to put out. And this is what they thought was going to resonate with the American people. Look at Proverbs 29 real quick. Look at verse 2. When the righteous increase, the people rejoice. But when the wicked rule, the people groan. This is what you've seen in our society. The wicked have begun to rule, unfettered rulership over the American people. And instead of rejoicing because righteousness is spreading, you can see that the everyday American is groaning for help that can only be found through Jesus Christ. But hey, let me know your thoughts about all this in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button, join this community. I would love to hear from you on a regular basis. And please hit that thumbs up button. You know, when you like this video, to get pushed out to more people, and it would really help spread the truth. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.